Today, the Earth's population has surpassed 8 billion people. Imagine that's 8 billion stories, voices, smiles, and destinies. For comparison, in just the last 100 years, we've quadrupled in number. Once, only a few million people lived on the planet, and now that many can reside in a single large city. This figure prompts us to think about the future. Will resources be sufficient? Will we learn to care for the planet? Yet at the same time, 8 billion represents 8 billion opportunities, ideas, and discoveries that could change the world. Elephants can listen to the earth with their feet. Their pads pick up low-frequency vibrations, steps of other elephants, thunderstorms, or even the movement of predators miles away. The signal travels through their bones to the brain, allowing the animal to understand what's happening around it. It's like having a built-in seismograph. Because of this, elephants can communicate with each other over vast distances, as if using a secret channel. Imagine walking barefoot and suddenly sensing that someone familiar is stomping far away. Remarkably, for elephants, their ears are not the only hearing organs. Sharks have no bones. Their skeletons are entirely made of cartilage. This makes their bodies light and flexible, like a spring. Sharks can turn sharply and dart towards their prey with lightning speed, like a perfectly oiled machine. This also allows them to grow throughout their lives. Some species can reach lengths of up to 12 meters. Imagine a fish the size of a bus, yet so agile that it can easily maneuver around any obstacles. The secret to its success lies in this paradox. No bones means no weight, only speed and freedom of movement. In English, there is a word, strengths, and it is special. It is the longest word with just one vowel. Despite its simplicity, it symbolizes strength, resilience, and endurance. It's amusing that such a word is unique in its structure. It contains 8 consonants in a row, yet it sounds easy and familiar. This little linguistic record shows that even in words, we can find our own championships. Language, like nature, holds its secrets and wonders, and sometimes they are hidden in the most ordinary things, in a word we use almost every day. In the Atlantic Ocean lies Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited place on the planet. The nearest mainland is nearly 2,500 kilometers away, and only about 260 people live there. The only way to reach the island is by ship, taking 6 days from South Africa. There are no airports, shopping centers, or hotels, and almost all the residents are descendants of sailors and settlers. Life here seems to be stuck in another time. People live in a community, grow their own food, and know each other by name. For a tourist, it's a unique experience to find oneself in a world where civilization is left behind the horizon. The peregrine falcon is the speed champion among animals. In a hunting dive, it can reach speeds of nearly 400 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a Formula One car. The secret lies in the bird folding its wings, transforming into a living arrow. Imagine watching a pigeon in the sky, and suddenly a peregrine falcon swoops down from above at breakneck speed, catches it, and ascends again. It all happens in seconds, and the prey doesn't even have time to realize what just occurred. This natural predator demonstrates that bird aerodynamics have been perfected. In Rome, a pizza over 40 meters in diameter was once baked. It was named Ottavia, in honor of the Roman emperor. The weight of this culinary monster exceeded 23 tons. Special ovens and a team of pizzaiolos worked for several days to prepare it. Imagine a square where instead of asphalt, there's a giant crust topped with tomato sauce and cheese. This pizza could feed an entire city. Interestingly, it was completely gluten-free, ensuring that the record not only amazed, but also catered to those with dietary restrictions. A true gastronomic spectacle for all of Italy. Leonardo da Vinci observed a mathematical law in the most ordinary trees. In his notes, he remarked that if you sum the thickness of all the branches of a tree at a certain height, it equals the thickness of the trunk. This remarkable observation has been confirmed by modern research. Trees that follow this rule withstand strong winds and storms better. Leonardo made a discovery that ecologists and biologists still use today. It turns out that the artist and inventor recognized patterns in nature that science was only able to prove centuries later. A true example of how a genius was ahead of his time. Scientists have noticed an intriguing habit. When leaving a cave, bats almost always turn left. Why? One theory suggests that this helps them avoid collisions in their large colony. Imagine an intersection without traffic lights, where thousands of cars decide to go only in one direction. It's the same for bats. This common rule of movement makes flying safer. What seems trivial to us is a matter of survival for them. In the dark, order is especially important, and nature has elegantly solved this issue. Left it is. It turns out that the rubber snake is not just a toy, but a real animal. In Canada, there is a harmless snake with the surprising name of rubber snake. It is completely safe for humans and is even used in therapy for people with phobias. Due to its calm demeanor and soft body, it is used for gradual acclimatization to snakes. There have been no recorded cases of attacks on humans. Interestingly, the rubber snake, that we usually think of as a prank toy, actually exists in nature and helps people overcome their fears. Sometimes even the names of animals sound like a joke from nature. The story of Arthur Tudor and Catherine of Aragon illustrates that even a common language doesn't always prevent misunderstandings. When Arthur Tudor, the brother of the future Henry VIII, first met his fiancée Catherine of Aragon, it turned out they couldn't communicate verbally. The issue was that their correspondence had been conducted in Latin, but their pronunciations were so different that they simply couldn't understand each other. It's amusing that a language considered universal among the European nobility ultimately let the young couple down. Imagine beautiful, formal letters, but in reality there were just gestures and bewildered looks. Scientists love to say that the water we drink today has existed since the time of the dinosaurs. Water molecules are constantly circulating, evaporating, falling as rain, flowing into rivers and seas. Imagine this. By sipping a glass of water, you might be drinking the very same molecules that quenched the thirst of a triceratops millions of years ago. This cycle makes us part of a vast system where the past and present intertwine in every drop. Even ordinary water turns out to be a connection between us and the prehistoric world. Who would have thought that the hockey mask was invented by a Japanese man? In 1936, goalie Teiji Honma took to the ice in an unusual piece of equipment, a face mask resembling a samurai helmet. At the time, his idea seemed strange, but it later became the foundation for modern protective gear in hockey. Today, it's hard to imagine a goalie without a mask, but it was once considered unnecessary. Hanma was a pioneer who blended the traditions of his culture with the sport. Thanks to him, hockey gained an item that has saved the health of thousands of players around the world. You've probably seen a flamingo or a duck standing on one leg. This isn't acrobatics. It's a way to conserve heat. Birds lose a lot of energy through their legs, and by tucking one leg under their feathers, they reduce heat loss by almost half. It would seem wild for us. Try standing like that for even 10 minutes. But flamingos can even sleep while balancing on one leg, like yogis in nature. Scientists call it unilateral resting, but essentially, it's just a comfortable habit. Birds know the secret to comfort better than we do. In English, a group of ladybugs is called loveliness, which can be translated as grace or charm. This is perhaps one of the most fitting names for these creatures. Imagine a meadow where dozens of bright red bugs are crawling through the grass. The word herd would sound harsh, while loveliness perfectly captures the mood. Language often reflects people's attitudes toward nature, and in this case, it is incredibly warm. It feels as though the ladybugs themselves have earned the title of the cutest beings in the insect world. The world of mammals is diverse. Some run, some swim, some jump, but only bats can truly fly. Their wings are membranes stretched over elongated fingers, not feathers like birds. This structure makes them incredibly agile. Additionally, bats use echolocation. They emit sounds that bounce off objects, allowing them to navigate in the dark by the echoes. This enables them to hunt at night with missile-like precision. Bats play a crucial role in the ecosystem, consuming millions of insects and pollinating plants. These small nocturnal hunters are true masters of the air. In Japan, there are unusual hotels where guests are greeted not by people, but by robots. Imagine being welcomed by an android at the reception, while a mechanical porter delivers your luggage to your room. Even cleaning and service are partially handled by machines. This network is called Henna Hotel, and it has become a true attraction. For tourists, it's an opportunity to glimpse the future, where technology and service merge into one. Of course, sometimes robots make mistakes, and humans have to step in, but the experiences are unforgettable. The Japanese have once again proven that if you're looking for futuristic ideas in everyday life, you should look to them. A hotel with robots is a reality where you can spend the night today. The Nile is the longest river in the world, stretching about 6,650 kilometers. It flows through 11 countries in Africa and serves as a source of life for millions of people. The ancient Egyptians referred to the Nile as a gift from the gods, as the river's floods brought fertile soil and allowed crops to be grown in the desert land. Today, the Nile remains not only an important transportation artery, but also a symbol of history, culture, and the power of nature. It is remarkable that one river can connect so many peoples and eras, becoming a true thread of time that stretches across millennia. Even wild wolves know how to wag their tails, and they do it with a specific meaning. We are used to dogs expressing joy and friendliness this way, but their wild ancestors, the wolves, do the same thing, albeit with a different significance. Young wolves wag their tails in front of older ones, showing respect and submission. Sometimes the tail helps to ease a tense situation. It's a way of saying, "I'm not a threat. I acknowledge your authority." Thus, this gesture in dogs is not a coincidence, but an ancient legacy. It's amusing to think that when you play with your dog's tail, you are witnessing an echo of the behavior of its distant ancestors who lived in forests and packs. You won't believe it, but there's a name for the lint in your pocket. Those tiny clumps that gather in the corner are called nur. They consist of fabric threads, fuzz, bits of paper, and dust. Gradually, they roll into dense balls, especially after washing. We usually regard them as trivial, but scientists have an official term for this phenomenon. It's amusing that even something as small as a lint ball in your jeans has its own definition in science. Sometimes it seems like language is ready to describe absolutely everything, even the most insignificant details. Yes, there are sharks that can walk. These are small epaulette sharks that live on coral reefs. They use their fins like legs, moving them to shuffle along the sea floor. This ability helps them search for food in places where swimming is difficult, like shallow lagoons. It looks unusual, as if a little shark decided to try on a lizard's outfit. Scientists believe this is an example of unique adaptation. Nature has seemingly given this predator new tools for survival. The walking shark is yet another reminder that the ocean holds countless wonders we are not even aware of. In the town of Talkeetna, Alaska, they've come up with a tourist attraction. A trained bear delivers the mail. Of course, he doesn't go door to door but participates in a show, carrying baskets filled with letters inside the post office. Tourists love the idea of sending a postcard with a bear stamp. It's a unique keepsake. The locals have turned this into an attraction, and now the bear postman has become a true symbol of the town. It sounds almost like a fairy tale, but it's actually a real way to attract visitors and make ordinary mail a local landmark. When we see an iceberg, it appears to be a massive chunk of ice proudly floating in the ocean. But the most treacherous part is that 90% of its mass is hidden beneath the surface. This means we only see a small tip, while the bulk remains concealed in the depths. This is why icebergs are so dangerous for ships. The underwater portion can be many times larger than what is visible. It's no wonder the Titanic collided with such a massive block, completely unaware of its scale. An iceberg is like an iceberg of problems. What's on the surface is just a small part. The water keeps its secrets deep, and they can be fatal for those who underestimate the danger. In Antarctica, amidst icy landscapes, there is a place where a stream of crimson water flows from beneath a glacier. It has been dubbed the Blood Falls. In reality, the water is colored due to a high iron content. It oxidizes and gives off that hue. However, it looks truly eerie. The pristine white ice and the Red River resemble a scene from a horror movie. Scientists believe that beneath the ice lies an ancient lake with microorganisms that thrive in conditions with almost no oxygen. Thus, the Blood Falls are not only a spectacle, but also a clue about life in extreme conditions. The word laser seems familiar and simple, but in reality, it's an acronym. It stands for Light Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation. It sounds complicated, but the essence is straightforward. The technology allows energy to be directed into a powerful beam. Lasers are now used in medicine, science, industry, and even in the entertainment industry. It's amusing that a word we say every day hides a whole technical definition within it. It's as if a long name is concealed behind a short sign, and the term itself has become a symbol of progress, turning into part of everyday speech. You won't believe it, but there is a whale known as the loneliest in the world. Scientists discovered a whale nicknamed the 52 Hertz whale. It sings at a frequency different from all other whales, and no one responds to it. Its call goes unheard or misunderstood. This whale seems to sing an eternal song in solitude. Its story has become a metaphor for human isolation and loneliness. Millions of people around the planet empathize with it, seeing their own feelings reflected in its plight. Sometimes, even an animal becomes a symbol of what it means to be misunderstood in a vast world. When the Apollo astronauts landed on the moon, they left not only footprints, but also special markings. These were lines and arrows that helped them navigate in the unfamiliar environment. There are no familiar horizons or road signs on the moon, making it easy to get lost. Therefore, scientists devised lunar markings in advance so that the astronauts would know where to go and how to return to the module. These simple lines became an important part of mission safety. It's amusing to think that on the moon, where there are no cars or traffic jams, there is still its own road system. The human tendency to impose order even worked on another celestial body. In psychology, there is an intriguing phenomenon known as the wonderful women effect. Research has shown that both men and women tend to attribute more positive qualities to women. The term wonderful women effect emerged in the 1990s when sociologists noticed that women received more flattering ratings in surveys than men. Interestingly, women themselves exhibited even greater bias than men. This doesn't mean that women are always better. Rather, society subconsciously idealizes them. Such an effect can even influence politics, careers, or court decisions, as perception often outweighs facts. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years, while the first trees appeared only 50 million years later. This means these predators swam in the ocean long before forests rustled on land. Imagine a planet without trees, but with sharks already feeling like the masters of the sea. They have survived mass extinctions, ice ages, and shifts in continents, and they still remain formidable hunters. In this sense, sharks are true dinosaurs of the ocean, proving to be more resilient than even the oldest plants. Octopuses are remarkable creatures not only for their tentacles and intelligence, but also for how they care for their offspring. The female lays thousands of tiny eggs and then guards them for weeks, refusing to eat. All her energy goes into ensuring the hatchlings emerge safely. When this happens, the mother often dies from exhaustion. Such self-sacrifice is astonishing. She literally gives her life for the future generation. In the animal kingdom, such devotion is rare. So when observing an octopus, it's worth remembering that behind its cold exterior lies one of the most touching displays of maternal instinct. The computer keyboard is something we touch every day, but we rarely think about how many germs are on it. Studies show that there are often more bacteria on the keys than on a toilet seat. Crumbs, dust, and grease from our hands create the perfect environment for microbial life. Therefore, regular cleaning is not just a whim, but a matter of health. Sometimes, simply wiping the keyboard with disinfecting wipes or using a special vacuum for electronics is enough. So as you type a message or play a game, remember, beneath your fingers lies an entire zoo. And perhaps computer hygiene is more important than we tend to think. The elephant's trunk is a true marvel of nature. Imagine an organ with around 40,000 muscles, more than the entire human body. Because of this, an elephant can tear off heavy branches, gently pick up a small berry, and even embrace its young. They use their trunks to drink water, make sounds, and play, almost like hands. Baby elephants sometimes even suck on their trunks like children do with their thumbs to soothe themselves. It's hard to believe that one tube can perform so many tasks, from brute strength to gentle gestures. That's why the elephant's trunk is one of the most unique and multifunctional tools created by nature. In Hong Kong, some people live in apartments the size of a regular closet. Due to the housing shortage, so-called coffin apartments have emerged. Their area can be as small as 4 square meters, about the size of a large bed. People literally live in boxes, a small bed, a narrow shelf, sometimes a tiny table, and that's it. These apartments are officially called micro-apartments, but the residents ironically refer to them as coffins. The UN has even described this phenomenon as an affront to human dignity. Imagine, after a workday, you return not to a home, but to a cramped box where you can't even stand up straight. Off the coast of Mauritius, there is a breathtaking sight. It looks as if a giant waterfall is crashing into the ocean right by the shore. In reality, this is an optical illusion. Ocean currents carry sand and sediment in such a way that it creates the impression of a swift flow downward into the abyss. From above, the view is fantastic. The water seems to plunge through the edge of the ocean. Tourists specifically fly here to witness this natural wonder with their own eyes. In reality, there is no chasm, but the beauty of the illusion is so striking that it is considered one of the most mesmerizing landscapes on the planet. The oldest joke was found on a clay tablet in Mesopotamia and dates back to around 1900 BC. And funny enough, it's a joke about gas. It says, "Never has it happened that a woman did not fart in front of her husband." Humor, it turns out, is timeless. 4,000 years have passed, and the themes haven't changed. It's amusing that scholars, while deciphering the ancient text, discovered not only laws and myths, but also this little everyday joke. It seems people have always enjoyed joking about the simple and relatable. Avocado nearly disappeared from the face of the earth and survived only thanks to humans. Once, giant Pleistocene animals, mammoths, giant sloths, and woolly rhinoceroses ate avocado fruits whole and helped spread the seeds. But these giants went extinct, and the plant could have vanished with them. However, humans stepped in. Our ancestors began cultivating avocados and preserving their culture for thousands of years. Today, we see it as a trendy ingredient for smoothies and toast. But in reality, it serves as a living reminder that many species survived only because humans became their partners. In the 19th century, watermelon became not only a delicacy, but also a secret ingredient for juices. Watermelons were used not just as a standalone fruit, but also as a base for vitamin blends. They were added to juices to balance the flavor. Watermelon made the drink smoother and more pleasant, reducing the excess acidity and bitterness of other fruits. Imagine a glass of orange juice that's too sour to drink without grimacing. Add a bit of watermelon, and the taste becomes refreshing and harmonious. This technique is still used in cooking today, and it was once a true discovery. The space menu has long resembled a home-cooked one, featuring borscht and cutlets instead of just tubes. Today, meals in orbit are not much different from those on Earth. Astronauts eat borscht, cutlets, and porridge, all in special packaging. Soups are heated and consumed through a straw, while solid dishes are eaten with a spoon. The main difference is that food can float away, so everything is secured with Velcro and served carefully. Many are surprised to find that lunch in space is not a futuristic powder, but rather a familiar home menu. This way, an astronaut can feel almost at home during their meal. Did you know that the Pentagon cannot account for half of its budget? The U.S. Department of Defense is regularly audited, and each time it turns out that a huge portion of its expenses remains unverified. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. The reasons include the complexity of the system, bureaucracy, and sometimes plain negligence. But for taxpayers, it sounds absurd. The world's largest military spends money, but can't accurately explain where it goes. This fact has become a source of numerous conspiracy theories and distrust in the government. In any case, it's a striking example of how even a massive organization can get lost in its own accounts. Unexpectedly, the word sect originally had an honorable connotation rather than a frightening one. Today, sect refers to suspicious religious groups associated with deception or fanaticism. However, in ancient Rome, the term secta had a neutral meaning, school or teaching. It was used to describe philosophical movements and groups of students and followers. For example, the Stoics or Epicureans were considered sects. Only over time, as many religious communities with questionable reputations emerged, did the word take on a negative connotation. Ironically, a term that once meant school of knowledge has transformed into a frightening label. The history of language can be just as surprising as the history of humanity. The International Space Station is not just a laboratory in orbit. It is the most expensive man-made object ever created. Its construction and operation have cost around $150 billion. For comparison, that's nearly 50 times the cost of the Eiffel Tower. The station has become a symbol of cooperation among different countries, with Americans, Russians, Japanese, and Europeans working together on board. Experiments are conducted there that cannot be performed on Earth. And while the amount may seem astronomical, the results are worth it. The ISS has opened the doors to life beyond our planet and represents a step toward future flights to other worlds. Dubai loves to impress with architectural wonders, and one of the ideas is skyscrapers that rotate around their axis. Imagine a building where each floor can slowly turn, offering residents a new view: the sea in the morning, the desert in the evening, and the city lights at night. This technology requires complex solutions, but it transforms the building into a living mechanism. Additionally, the rotation helps evenly distribute sunlight throughout the building and saves energy. This is not just a striking concept, but a step towards smart architecture, where comfort and beauty go hand in hand. Dubai once again proves that the future is already here. A herd of goats is referred to in an unusual way: nannies and billies. The females are called nannies, while the males are billies. This amusing terminology highlights their personalities. The goat always appears caring yet stubborn, while the buck is independent and proud. Imagine a farm where the shepherd calls not just a herd, but a team of nannies and billies. It adds a touch of humor to simple rural life. Such names show that people have always tried to see in animals not just food or assistance, but also their unique characters. Have you ever wondered what dinosaurs actually sounded like? In the famous Jurassic Park, the monsters sound so terrifying that it sends chills down your spine. But the sound designers didn't find recordings of prehistoric reptiles. No one has ever heard them. Instead, they combined the most unexpected sounds, like the moans of mating turtles. These became the foundation for the fearsome roars on screen. It's amusing to imagine viewers holding their breath, believing in the terrifying roar of the T-Rex, while in the studio, sound engineers are stifling laughter, knowing that the king of the lizards sounds suspiciously romantic. Beneath the massive feet of elephants lies an intriguing secret. They have unique toes. These special bony structures help distribute their weight and allow the animals to move almost silently. Thanks to them, an elephant walks softly despite its tons of mass. They sense the ground like a cat's pads and provide stability even on unstable surfaces. This is why these giants can calmly tread on sand, clay, or even marshy land. Their gait is remarkably light, and if you close your eyes, you might not even notice a whole elephant sneaking up on you. Nature has once again demonstrated its engineering genius. Sometimes reality sounds like fantasy. There is a lamp that has been burning for over 100 years. In the fire station of Livermore, California, a light bulb that was lit in 1901 is still shining. It has outlasted generations, wars, and technological changes, yet it continues to glow. Scientists have examined it and confirmed its authenticity. The reason lies in its carbon filament, which operates at a very low power. Interestingly, back then, lamps were made to last for centuries, while today they barely last a couple of years. This little lamp has become a symbol of a time when things were created not for profit, but for durability. The medieval chivalric order still exists and even issues its own passports. The Sovereign Military Order of Malta, founded during the Crusades, is recognized by the international community as a sovereign entity, despite not having its own territory. The order has its own passports, stamps, and even currency, the Maltese scudo. It boasts tens of thousands of knights, volunteers, and doctors working around the globe. Many find it surprising that this medieval institution continues to thrive in modern times, preserving not only its traditions but also real legal privileges. It stands as one of the few examples where the past and present coexist side by side. Strangely enough, the word robot was not coined by a scientist, but by a writer. Czech playwright Karel Čapek introduced the term in his play RUR. Initially, he wanted to call artificial beings laborus, derived from the Latin word for work, but his artist brother suggested the shorter and catchier robot, from the Czech word for work. Thus, literature gifted science a term that has now become part of everyday life. It's amusing that the technology changing the world began with a fantastical play and a chance word choice in a conversation between two brothers. Today we send each other emojis, hearts, and pizza in chats as if they've always existed. But the first emojis appeared in Japan in the late 90s. There were only 176 of them, and they looked very simple. A sun, a phone, a smiling face. Back then, it seemed trivial, but now emojis have turned into a real language understood all over the world. It's amusing that the idea came from a Japanese mobile company. They just wanted to make communication easier for their users. Now, the entire world expresses emotions through these tiny images. You could say that without these little symbols, texting would be dull, like tea without sugar. There is a specific disorder called dyscalculia, a kind of dyslexia for numbers. People with this condition struggle even with the simplest tasks. They find it hard to understand which number is larger, 6 or 7, or to count change in a store. Their ability to perceive time, navigate calculations, and remember numbers is often affected. Approximately 7.5% of people worldwide live with this condition. For them, math is not just a difficult subject, but an almost incomprehensible language. Interestingly, a person may be talented in music or art, yet numbers will remain a mystery to them. Today, over 4,000 active satellites orbit our planet. They provide us with navigation, communication, weather forecasting, and even climate monitoring. However, as the number of satellites increases each year, scientists are increasingly discussing the problem of space debris. The more technology there is in orbit, the higher the risk of collisions. Imagine a vast network of thousands of lights above us that we can't see, yet they make our lives more convenient every day. Every phone or car contains a small part of their work. Space has long ceased to be empty. It has become a busy highway with continuous traffic. Sometimes a word that sounds like a joke hides a very real pain in the muscles. Caripatura is a term sometimes used to refer to muscle soreness, that familiar feeling when your muscles start to ache after a workout. Scientifically, it's called delayed onset muscle soreness and occurs due to microtears in the fibers. The body responds to the strain with inflammation to repair the tissues, which is why the muscles hurt more the next day. In everyday life, this is perceived as a punishment for exercising, but in reality, it's a sign that the body is adapting and becoming stronger. One could say that caripatura is a receipt that the body gives you for the work done. Interestingly, even the mightiest trees have a limit to their growth. It turns out that no tree on the planet can exceed a height of about 130 meters. The reason lies in physics. Water cannot rise up the trunk beyond a certain level. It's like trying to drink through a straw the length of a skyscraper. At some point, the liquid simply stops. This is why even the majestic sequoias, the tallest trees in the world, reach this invisible threshold. We look up at them in awe of their grandeur, but they too are subject to the strict laws of nature that impose a limit where it seems there could be infinity. Galapagos marine iguanas can hold their breath for up to an hour. These unusual lizards live on the Galapagos Islands and feed on seaweed. To find food, they dive into the ocean and can stay underwater for up to 60 minutes. Their bodies are adapted so that blood is directed only to vital organs during this time, conserving oxygen. They expel excess salt through special glands in their noses, sneezing out salty droplets. On land, they bask in the sun, while in the sea, they become true underwater divers. This is a unique example of reptiles adapting to oceanic life. The paradox is that nuclear energy is considered safer than conventional coal and gas. Many people associate nuclear power with accidents and radiation danger, recalling Chernobyl or Fukushima, and that ends the discussion. However, statistics tell a different story. When comparing the number of victims and illnesses caused by various energy sources, coal and gas prove to be far more dangerous. Hundreds of thousands suffer from lung diseases due to emissions from power plants, while the climate takes a severe hit. In contrast, nuclear plants generate energy with almost no carbon emissions, and accidents are extremely rare. Thus, we have a paradox. The frightening word nuclear instills fear, even though in reality it saves lives. An ant is like a small truck with a two-chamber system. One stomach is for itself, to digest food and gain energy, while the other is for the colony. It stores food there to share with other ants through a special process called trophallaxis. This means ants literally feed each other mouth to mouth, functioning together as a single organism. If one finds a sweet treat, it not only carries it home, but also shares it, so others know the way to the treasure. It's like if we could eat a pastry and immediately pass a piece to a friend straight from our stomach, along with the address of the nearest bakery. Sometimes science plays with coincidences. The same equation is discovered by two different scientists. The Lorentz-Lorentz equation got its name for a reason. It was derived independently by two researchers, the Danish scientist Ludwig Lorentz and the Dutch scientist Hendrik Lorentz. The difference was nearly 10 years, and they were unaware of each other's work. In the end, both published almost the same discovery. Science sometimes has such quirks. People in different countries, working on similar problems, arrive at the same results. This shows that discoveries are not random. They hang in the air, waiting to be noticed. In Armenia, a chocolate bar weighing over 4 tons was once created. It measured 5.5 meters long and nearly 3 meters wide. Making it took 10 days and a huge amount of cocoa beans. Imagine, an entire stadium of children could have feasted on this chocolate field. When the chocolate was finally unveiled at the celebration, it wasn't placed in a museum. It was simply broken apart and shared with the people. There's something touching about this. The largest sweet symbol in history became a communal treat. It's as if the very idea of chocolate, sharing joy, materialized in this record-breaking bar. The starfish eats in a rather unusual way. It turns its stomach inside out and wraps it around its prey, such as a shell. The food is digested externally, and then the stomach is pulled back in. It's like a portable container. Take it out, eat, and put it away. This method allows the starfish to handle prey that is difficult to swallow whole. It's amusing that behind the calm appearance of these sea creatures lies such a trick with their stomachs. They seem to know the secret to an unconventional approach to eating. Scientists warn that by the middle of the 21st century, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Imagine looking at the sea and realizing that what swims beneath the surface isn't a school of sardines, but bottles and bags. Right now, millions of tons of waste are forming entire islands of garbage. The problem is that plastic takes hundreds of years to decompose, breaking down into microplastics that enter fish organisms and then our food. This outlook is alarming, but it also serves as a motivation. The sooner we change our habits, the greater the chance we have to keep the ocean alive and clean. We often perceive the nose as just an ordinary organ of smell, but in reality, it is incredibly complex. It was once believed that humans could distinguish around 10,000 scents. Today, we know that our nose can detect up to 1 trillion different aromas. It's a whole universe of sensations, from the smell of fresh bread to the subtle notes of smoke or gas that can warn us of danger. Think about it. The nose helps you recall childhood memories through the aroma of grandma's pies or feel the excitement of spring through the scent of damp earth. We tend to consider sight as the primary sense, But the nose is a true superhero, working quietly and unnoticed, saving us from mistakes every day and filling our lives with memories. We tend to think of the world as having three kingdoms: animals, plants, and fungi. Most often we classify fungi as plants, but the truth is they are much closer to animals. They share a common ancestor with us that dates back over 1 billion years. Unlike plants, fungi cannot photosynthesize. They obtain nutrients by decomposing organic matter. Essentially, they eat like animals. So a champignon or a honey mushroom is not just a little plant with a cap, but a distant relative of ours. Fungi are true recyclers of nature. They return nutrients to the soil, give life to new plants, and without them, ecosystems would simply collapse. Octopuses are true inventors of the underwater world. Scientists have observed that they can use coconut shells as shelters. They pick up suitable halves, drag them along the ocean floor, and then assemble them like a shield when they need to hide. It looks as if the octopus has its own backpack or portable tent. For an animal without bones or a shell, this is a brilliant solution. It creates its own armor. Octopuses are already known for their high intelligence, but using objects is a level of ingenuity akin to humans. So it turns out that a little MacGyver with 8 arms lives on the ocean floor. For a long time, scientists were unaware that the strange transparent larva was a future eel. They believed for a long time that the leptocephalus was a separate species of fish. Its transparent, almost glass-like body with a long shape does not resemble any adult ocean dweller. But then it turned out that this is just a stage in the development of the eel. Such an unexpected masquerade of nature. The tiny larva lives its own life and then gradually transforms into the eel we know. Discoveries like this always surprise in science. It turns out that some of the new species are merely disguised teenagers of old acquaintances. Pigs are much smarter than people tend to think. They can solve simple puzzles, deceive others for treats, and even recognize themselves in mirrors. In experiments, pigs completed tasks faster than dogs, and they easily learn tricks. Imagine a pig that not only knows where the tasty apple is, but also distracts its competitor to reach the food first. Scientists consider them to be among the most intelligent animals on the farm. It turns out that behind the image of a simple country dweller lies a true strategist and psychologist. If you decide to walk the Great Wall of China from start to finish, prepare for a marathon lasting almost 1.5 years. The total length of the wall is over 20,000 kilometers. Even if you walk 30 kilometers a day without stopping, it would still take about 18 months. Imagine, every day brings new views, mountains, steps, villages, all accompanied by ancient stone battlements. It's like walking along the longest historical ribbon, where each tower holds its own story. Few can undertake such a journey, but the thought that it's possible is inspiring. What if I told you that the eyes of mantis shrimp are more complex than human eyes? These tiny predators have unique vision. Each eye has 3 pupils and up to 16 types of light-sensitive cells. In comparison, humans have only 3. Mantis shrimp can see ultraviolet, infrared, and even polarized light. Their vision is so extraordinary that it helps scientists develop new camera and sensor technologies. It turns out that within the tiny body of this crustacean lies a biological supercosmos that surpasses the capabilities of our eyes and even the best cameras. The carnivorous plant Venus flytrap can literally count. When an insect touches its sensitive hairs, the trap doesn't close immediately. The plant waits for a second touch to ensure it's not just a random raindrop or a speck of dust. If the touch is repeated, the lobes snap shut. Scientists have found that the flytrap keeps an internal count, and a specific number of stimuli is also needed for digestion. This means the plant has a primitive memory and a decision-making system. This makes it resemble a creature with a brain, even though it doesn't have one. In the late 90s, Furby toys appeared in the U.S. Furry, chatty creatures with electronic eyes. Rumors circulated that they could record conversations and send them somewhere. It got to the point where they were officially banned from government facilities, including the National Security Agency. Of course, it turned out that Furbies were not spies at all, just a myth and panic surrounding a new toy. But history shows how people sometimes fear technology. A toy designed for children's play briefly became a dangerous agent. Funny, isn't it? Vladimir Lenin was not only a revolutionary, but also an avid chess player. During his exile in Siberia, he played correspondence games, solved chess problems and studies, and later often used chess metaphors in his writings. For him, chess was not just a game, but a training ground for strategic thinking. Imagine, he could manage several games at once while in exile and simultaneously work on political texts. Chess helped him hone his patience and ability to calculate moves. Thus, the revolutionary known for decisive actions was a cool-headed strategist on the board, capable of waiting for the right moment to make a winning move. In the ocean, there are real lakes hidden beneath the water's surface. They are called brines or salt pools. The reason is that in certain areas, the water is so saturated with salt that it becomes denser than regular seawater. As a result, a boundary forms, resembling the surface of a new lake, even though it lies on the ocean floor. These pools look astonishing. Underwater, there is another surface, smooth and shiny. Unique organisms adapted to extreme conditions thrive in them. Scientists study these places as analogs of extraterrestrial worlds, as life there is vastly different from what we know. It turns out that even on our planet, one can find almost alien landscapes. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. Its diameter is only about 5,000 kilometers, which is less than half of Earth's. Imagine a sphere the size of Africa. That's roughly what it is. Yet Mercury is also the fastest. It orbits the Sun in just 88 Earth days. While we celebrate one new year, Mercury manages to celebrate 4. On its surface, there's hellish heat during the day and icy cold at night. It turns out to be a planet of contrasts, small, fast, and very harsh, like a cosmic sprinter living in an extreme rhythm. Do you want to know where the term carbon footprint originated? Today, this term refers to an individual's contribution to atmospheric pollution, but few know that the idea was conceived by the oil and gas giant BP. The company hired advertising specialists to shift the focus from industrial emissions to the responsibility of ordinary people. Thus, the myth of personal guilt for the climate crisis was born. As a result, millions began to track how many bags they used or how many kilometers they traveled, while corporations continued to extract oil. It turns out that the very concept we perceive as environmental was originally a clever marketing ploy. In the Middle Ages, there was an unusual unit of volume, the ton, but it wasn't the familiar weight measurement. It referred to the amount of wine that could fit in a huge barrel. Merchants and winemakers used this method of measurement for trade. Imagine, at a fair, deals were made not in liters or even barrels, but in whole tons of wine. Today, this word is associated with heaviness and mass, but once it was linked to joy and feasting. This detail of history serves as a reminder that many modern terms originated from very practical needs of the past, when wine was almost a currency. What a surprise! The lines on a basketball were not designed for aesthetics. These stripes help players grip the ball firmly and better control its movement. Try playing with an old smooth ball, and you'll immediately notice the difference. It slips out of your hands and shots become inaccurate. The lines provide traction for the fingers and allow for quick changes in the ball's direction. For spectators, it's just a familiar design element, but for players, it's an unnoticed yet vital tool. It turns out that the outcome of an entire game can depend on a few stripes applied to the orange surface. The largest spider on the planet is the Goliath bird eater. Its leg span can reach 30 centimeters, and it weighs over 170 grams. This hairy giant can hunt not only insects, but also small rodents, lizards, and even chicks. When encountered, it can produce a frightening hissing sound by rubbing its legs together. Despite its fearsome appearance, its bite is not deadly to humans. It's similar to a wasp sting. However, the impression of an encounter is strong. It's like a small dog in the world of spiders. Scientists call it the king of spiders, and it's hard to argue with that. In Slovenia, archaeologists discovered a wooden wheel that is about 5,000 years old. It was made from ash and secured with oak wedges. For its time, it was a true engineering marvel, a component that allowed people to transport heavy loads and build new roads. Imagine an ancient craftsman who first thought to turn a log into a circle and fit it onto an axle. From that moment, an entire era began. The wheel became a symbol of progress, and although it looks somewhat crude, it is from such finds that the history of all modern machines and trains began. High humidity can make heat almost unbearable for a person. When it's hot and humid outside, the body literally loses its ability to cool down. The thing is, sweat stops evaporating from the skin, meaning the body can't shed excess heat. As a result, we feel weakness, fatigue, and even stress. It's like trying to dry laundry on a foggy day. It stays wet no matter how much time passes. That's why high humidity feels more oppressive than dry heat. The body simply can't cope with natural cooling. The chicken is a bird, but there's nothing eagle-like about its flight. The longest flight ever recorded lasted just 13 seconds. For comparison, that's less time than it takes to count to 15. The reason is simple. A chicken's body is heavy, and its wing muscles are not developed enough for long flights. However, these short bursts allow chickens to jump over fences or fly up into trees to escape danger. So a chicken flies just enough to survive. And while its flights may not be impressive, it remains a unique bird in its own right, an ancestor of dinosaurs and a staple of the farmyard. Beneath the ice of Antarctica lie entire mountain ranges comparable to the Alps. The Gamburtsev Mountains represent a true hidden world. Their size rivals that of the Alps, but they remain unseen, covered by a layer of ice more than 3 kilometers thick. These mountains formed around 100 million years ago, yet thanks to their icy armor, they have remained almost in their pristine state. There may be valleys, rivers, and even subglacial lakes, as if frozen in time. Scientists study them only through radar and satellites. Thus, right beneath the feet of the polar explorers lies a vast world about which we know almost nothing. Today, it's hard to imagine a computer without microchips, but there was a time when memory was made quite differently. In the mid-20th century, data was stored in tiny magnetic rings. Each ring could remember a bit of information, while wires threaded through them managed the writing and reading processes. This was known as ferrite memory. It looked quite simple, like beads strung on a wire. Yet this technology was a breakthrough that allowed the first computers to operate faster and more reliably. Such memory was literally worth its weight in gold, and every cell counted. Today, it's difficult for us to believe that programs ran on rings, but that's how the era of the digital world began. Cows can climb stairs, but going down is almost an impossible mission for them. It all comes down to the structure of their legs. Their joints are designed in a way that stepping down leads to a loss of balance. Imagine a friend calling a cow to the second floor, only to end up needing special equipment to get it back down. It's amusing, but it serves as a reminder that every creature has its limitations. We can easily run down the steps, while for a cow, it's like us sliding down a hill on skates without brakes. In English, there is a record-breaking word, set. It has over 400 meanings. It all depends on the context. You can set the table, set the alarm, or set a record. The same short word can represent an action, a state, or an object. Imagine if we had a word that could mean book, to go, and bright. English is incredibly flexible in this regard, and such words make it rich and vibrant. For language learners, set is a real puzzle that requires a dictionary to navigate. Camels are the champions of the desert. They can drink up to 130 liters of water in just 13 minutes. It's like a person draining an entire bathtub in one go. Their bodies are designed to retain moisture. Their blood and tissues are adapted to withstand dehydration, and they hardly sweat at all. Because of this, camels survive where other animals wouldn't last a day. It's no wonder they are called ships of the desert. They carry loads and people across the scorching sands like enormous living water tanks. The tall towers on old fire stations were not just for aesthetics, but served practical purposes. If you look closely at these old buildings, you can almost always spot a high tower. It was used not only for watching over the city and signaling fires, but also for drying long hoses after use. Wet hoses couldn't be stored coiled up. They would deteriorate quickly. So they were hung in the tower, stretching down to their full length. Sometimes, signal balls or lanterns were displayed on the tower to alert neighboring stations about a fire. Thus, these towers functioned as dryers, communication systems, and symbols of vigilance. Rabbits are cute and fluffy, but they have an interesting feature. Their bodies are designed in such a way that they cannot vomit. Food moves through their system in only one direction, which helps them avoid unnecessary energy loss. On one hand, this is a plus. Rabbits don't suffer from nausea. On the other hand, it's a downside. If they eat something harmful, they can't get rid of it. That's why the owners of these domestic little ears always monitor their diet. It's amusing that such delicate animals have a system that is more rigid than that of many predators. The snail may seem slow and harmless, but it has a whole arsenal in its mouth. Thousands of tiny teeth located on a special organ called the radula. With this rasp-like ribbon, the snail scrapes its food. Leaves, bark, even stones covered in algae. The teeth are so small that they can only be seen under a microscope, but they make the snail a true connoisseur of nature. Imagine having a mini-saw in your mouth that works non-stop. It sounds funny, but this is what helps it survive in various conditions. The Sahara is not just a sea of sand, but also a place where it can sing. Some dunes emit a low hum, or even melodic sounds when the sand slips down their slopes. It's like an organ built right into the desert. The reason lies in the unique shape and size of the grains. They rub against each other and create vibrations. Imagine walking on a dune, and suddenly the entire mound starts to resonate, as if alive. Travelers describe this sound as enchanting and mystical. It's no wonder that local tribes have legends about spirits singing in the sands. Egypt can confidently be called the oldest state in the world. Its history spans over 5,000 years, beginning with the unification of Upper and Lower Kingdoms. The pyramids, temples, and the mysterious Nile are not just beautiful images, but symbols of a civilization that laid the foundation for many cultures. Imagine, while Europe was still unaware of writing, the Egyptians were already constructing majestic tombs and writing in hieroglyphs. And even though thousands of years have passed, Egypt still holds secrets that scholars are unraveling, like the pages of the oldest book in the world. The Incas in South America built suspension bridges made of grass and vines 2,000 years ago. These woven structures connected the banks of mountain rivers and served as real roads between villages. Every year, the residents of nearby villages would reweave the ropes to ensure the bridge remained strong. Imagine dozens of people gather, weaving ropes from grass and renewing an entire bridge as one big ritual. Despite the simplicity of the materials, these bridges could support not only people but also caravans with cargo. This is an amazing example of how engineering can emerge directly from nature. Polar bears appear to be snowy creatures, as if sculpted from ice. However, if you push aside their thick fur, you'll find that their skin is not white, but black. This color helps the animals absorb solar heat more effectively and retain it in harsh Arctic conditions. Thus, the white fur serves as camouflage, while the bear's true clothing acts as a heater. This dual mechanism allows them to survive in temperatures that drop below -40. So the polar bear is not just a fluffy giant, but a true engineering marvel of nature, where everything is meticulously designed. The oldest university in the world was established in the 9th century in Morocco. It was founded by a woman, Fatima al-Fihri. She invested her inheritance in the construction of a mosque and an educational center, which became a place of knowledge for thousands of students. It's remarkable that at a time when women had very few rights, one of them created an institution that has survived for centuries. Today, Al-Qarawiyyin University is still operational and is considered the oldest in the world. Fatima's story reminds us that great changes often come from those we least expect. What a surprise! It turns out that intelligent people are the ones who remember their dreams most often. Researchers have noticed a pattern. Individuals with high intelligence and rich imagination tend to recall their dreams and can recount them in detail. This is linked to brain activity during the rapid eye movement (REM) phase of sleep. Of course, this doesn't mean that someone who forgets their dreams is unintelligent, but the connection is intriguing. Perhaps a developed imagination helps retain nighttime images. It seems that dreams serve as a kind of workout for the brain, and those inclined toward creativity receive a bonus in the form of vivid memories. In Texas, there's a place that tourists call the Doll Graveyard Town. Once a mining settlement, it is now filled with hundreds of old dolls. They stand on fences, sit in houses, and hang from trees, creating an atmosphere straight out of a mystical film. The locals have turned this into a quirky attraction, offering tours and joking that the dolls rule the town. Of course, it's all in good fun, but it truly looks eerie. Strolling through the streets among the doll residents is not for the faint of heart. Only humans can blush. This phenomenon is linked to the expansion of blood vessels in the face during emotions like shame, excitement, or love. You've probably caught yourself feeling your cheeks betray you after an awkward comment or an unexpected compliment. It's amusing, but no dog, cat, or even intelligent monkey can blush. There's something very human about this. We not only think and speak, but we also wear our emotions right on our faces, like a living mood indicator. Strangely enough, little Albania has turned into a country of bunkers. In the mid-20th century, dictator Enver Hoxha ordered the construction of defensive structures in case of war. The result was around 700,000 concrete bunkers scattered across the country. They were placed on the shores, in the mountains, in backyards, and even near schools. The country resembled a stone anthill. Today, many bunkers are abandoned. Some have been transformed into cafes, museums, and even housing. For tourists, they are a curiosity, while for Albanians, they serve as a reminder of a time when the fear of war was literally embedded in the landscape. On the island of St. Helena lives a tortoise named Jonathan, who is around 190 years old. He was born in the 19th century and has witnessed changes in eras, wars, and technologies. Imagine, When Jonathan was young, there was no electricity in every home, and now people are launching satellites into space. Yet the tortoise continues to peacefully graze on grass and bask in the sun. His life is like a living chronicle of history. People come from all over the world just to catch a glimpse of this time machine with a shell. When a group of ferrets gathers, it's called a business. This is quite fitting. They are constantly bustling about, exploring everything around them, stealing shiny objects, and darting around as if discussing important deals. Imagine a small office where the employees wear fluffy tails instead of suits. They jump, play, and look so busy that you can't help but think, yes, they really are hard at work. This amusing name highlights the nature of these animals: active, curious, and a bit chaotic. It's a business you could watch forever. In the dense jungles of Honduras, archaeologists used lasers to discover a lost ancient city that had been hidden by nature for centuries. Laser scanning allowed them to see through the tree canopies and uncover the ruins of buildings, plazas, and pyramids. Local legends referred to this place as the White City, or the City of the Gods, attributing mystical powers to it. Researchers found numerous artifacts that confirmed the existence of a rich culture in the area. It turned out that deep within the forest lay an entire civilization forgotten by humanity. This discovery revealed that the jungles could be not just a home for wildlife, but also a vast repository of human history. Ocean giants, sperm whales, are capable of communicating over thousands of kilometers. These ocean behemoths use powerful vibrations for communication that travel through water over vast distances. Scientists suggest that one sperm whale can call another located on the other side of the ocean. However, these same vibrations can be dangerous for humans. Getting too close can lead to paralysis or even death. Thus, sperm whales have their own underwater telephone network that operates far more efficiently than many of our technologies. Their language has not yet been fully deciphered, but it is already clear that it is one of the most complex systems in the animal kingdom. On Venus, there is an optical phenomenon similar to a rainbow, but it's called a glory. Instead of raindrops, tiny particles of sulfuric acid in the planet's dense atmosphere create it. As a result, bright-colored circles appear in the sky, resembling a glowing halo. Imagine not the familiar arc above the rain, but a true cosmic aura. This shows that even on other planets, nature puts on its own light, and color shows, albeit with different ingredients. And even though Venus is distant and harsh, it can also be beautiful. If you take a close look at Leonardo da Vinci's most famous painting, you'll notice something strange. The Mona Lisa has no eyebrows. Scholars debate whether the artist intended it that way or if the eyebrows have faded over time. But this small detail makes her smile even more enigmatic. We are used to reading emotions through facial expressions, and the absence of familiar features is disorienting. It's like having a conversation with someone, but part of their words suddenly disappears. Each viewer fills in the gaps in their own way. Perhaps that's why the smile of the Gioconda is so captivating. It communicates with us through the silence of missing details. A sunset on Mars is a true wonder. Unlike Earth, where the sky is painted in shades of red and orange, on Mars the sun sets in a blue glow. This is due to the planet's thin atmosphere, which scatters light differently than ours. As a result, the daytime sky appears pale yellow, and at sunset, the horizon ignites with a stunning blue light. Astronauts who find themselves there will witness a truly alien landscape. Imagine standing on the cold Martian plains, gazing up at a foreign yet mesmerizing sky. It's like a painting by an artist who decided to swap the usual colors. Sharks are eternal swimmers. They lack a swim bladder, which keeps most fish at the right depth. To avoid sinking and suffocating, they must keep moving all the time. Water flows through their gills, and that's the only way they get oxygen. Imagine having to walk your entire life with no right to sit down or lie down to sleep. For a shark, this is normal. Even in sleep, it continues to swim, moving slowly and calmly. So the ocean is for it both a bed and a road, a home all at once. A true marathon that lasts a lifetime. The cougar is a cat that seems to have checked off almost every location on the map. You can find it in the mountains of Canada, the deserts of Chile, the forests of the United States, and even on the outskirts of cities. It adapts to any conditions, from snow to heat. No wonder it's called the cat with 1,000 addresses. Unlike many large predators, the cougar is not afraid of human proximity and sometimes appears near settlements. Yet it remains elusive and cautious. It's an incredible example of survival. Where tigers and lions are confined to specific territories, the cougar roams freely across an entire continent. If Saturn surprises with diamond rain, then the phenomenon on Neptune is even more impressive. Under pressure and at immense temperatures, methane in the planet's atmosphere turns into diamond crystals that fall like raindrops. Imagine precious stones gathering in the sky instead of clouds. Of course, at depth, they break down into other forms of carbon, but the process itself is astonishing. A world where diamonds rain from the sky seems like a fairy tale, yet it truly exists. However, it's unlikely that humans will ever reach it. Conditions are just too extreme. But the thought of such natural luxury is captivating. In ancient Rome, fashion could be both strange and bold. To achieve a rich dark hair color, noble women used not dye, but leeches. They would take them, place them in a vessel, let them ferment, and then apply the resulting goo to their hair. It sounds horrifying, but at the time, it was considered a true beauty secret. Imagine a modern salon. A client walks in and is offered leeches shampoo. We would run away in horror, but for the Romans, it was a normal grooming ritual. Interestingly, thousands of years later, we are still willing to undergo bizarre procedures for beauty. Only now they smell a lot better. Some species of turtles can breathe through their cloaca. It sounds funny, but it's actually an important survival adaptation. During cold weather, they can be under ice, where there's almost no oxygen. That's when special cavities in the cloaca come into play, allowing them to absorb oxygen from the water. It's a sort of backup breathing. The turtle seems to say, "Well, if my nose and mouth aren't working, I have an alternative." This mechanism enables them to stay underwater for hours and even hibernate without coming up for air. Who would have thought that an albatross can fly for hours without flapping its wings? These seabirds are true masters of gliding. They skillfully utilize the air currents above the ocean, allowing them to soar for hours with minimal energy expenditure. Some albatrosses spend years at sea, rarely landing on land. They sleep on the water, feed on fish, and feel at home in the ocean. Imagine a whole life in the sky above the sea, where wings become sails. Albatrosses are a symbol of freedom, and their ability to fly almost effortlessly amazes even scientists. It's hard to believe, but guilt can arise even from happiness. In psychology, this is referred to as survivor's guilt. This state is often experienced by those who have survived a tragedy or by those who are doing well while their loved ones are suffering. Joy can feel like a betrayal. A person may begin to feel internal discomfort because they have what others lack: health, a job, a family. It's paradoxical, as happiness should bring joy, yet sometimes it becomes a burden. This phenomenon reminds us that emotions do not always adhere to logic. The Rialto Bridge is the oldest and most famous in Venice. It was built in the 16th century and has been slowly sinking ever since. The city is built on stilts and constantly battles the water, which is why the bridge is gradually descending as well. Over the centuries, it has been restored and reinforced multiple times to preserve this symbol of Venice. However, the underlying issue remains. The sea is slowly reclaiming its territory. For tourists, Rialto is a romantic spot with a view of the Grand Canal, while for engineers, it presents an ongoing challenge. Each stone here serves as a reminder that Venice is beautiful and fragile, and its wonders require constant care and protection. The blue whale is not only the largest, but also the loudest inhabitant of the Earth. Its call reaches up to 188 decibels, louder than a departing airplane. These sounds can be heard up to 800 kilometers away underwater. The whale acts like a marine radio transmitter, communicating with other giants over vast distances. For us, it would be a deafening roar, but for them, it's a gentle song. Imagine, deep in the ocean where it's dark and empty, a powerful bass suddenly resonates, heard by whales scattered across the sea. It's a true symphony of nature. Do you remember those annoying pop-up windows on the internet? The ones that took up half the screen and drove you crazy? It turns out their inventor publicly apologized for them later. In the 1990s, programmer Ethan Zuckerman came up with this method to separate ads from main content. At the time, it seemed like a good idea, but soon ads flooded the web, turning surfing into a nightmare. Years later, Zuckerman admitted that his invention caused more harm than good. This is a great example of how even good intentions can lead to unpleasant outcomes. And now, when we close yet another pop-up window, we can remember that its creator regrets it. Did you know that avocado can be deadly for animals? For humans, this fruit is beneficial: vitamins, healthy fats, trendy toasts. But for birds and horses, avocado is toxic. A substance called purest in their bodies causes severe poisoning, sometimes with fatal outcomes. So what is a superfood for us is a poison for animals. This serves as a reminder that we can't measure everything by human standards. Even familiar foods can be dangerous if an organism isn't adapted to them. What is beneficial for one form of life can be harmful to another. In the tropical forests of the Amazon, there grows a palm that locals call the walking palm. Its roots are structured in such a way that the tree can slowly move several meters in search of light. Old roots die off while new ones grow on the other side, making the palm appear to take a step. Over the years, it can walk several meters, changing its location. Of course, it's not a stroll in the usual sense, but the sight is impressive. A tree that moves to survive. Scientists debate the speed and scale of this process, but the fact itself is astonishing. Nature once again proves that even trees can seek their place in the sun, literally on the move. It sounds incredible, but the diamond market is artificially restricted. For decades, De Beers has been buying up diamonds and keeping them in stock to create scarcity. In reality, there are enough of these stones in the world, but due to supply control, they have become a symbol of luxury and a must-have for engagements. The phrase, "diamonds are forever," was also created by advertising. Thus, the value of diamonds is not just about their beauty, but also a carefully constructed illusion. Millions of people believe that diamonds are rare and unique, even though their price is largely the result of clever marketing strategies. The story of the first feature film in human history remains forever incomplete. In 1906, Australia produced The Story of the Kelly Gang, a film that lasted over an hour, which was a technical marvel for its time. Audiences were thrilled, but only a quarter of the film has survived to this day. The rest is irretrievably lost. Imagine if the first novel by Tolstoy or an early painting by Picasso had vanished. We know the film existed and understand its significance, but future viewers will never experience it in its entirety. The history of cinema began with a mystery that will always remain untold. Imagine a person who would have to eat 100 pizzas a day to survive. Tiny hummingbirds expend so much energy that they eat almost every 15 minutes. Their metabolism is so accelerated that if a human had the same, they would need to consume about 150,000 calories a day. That's roughly equivalent to eating 100 large pizzas daily. Without food, a hummingbird can die in just a few hours, so they live in a constant race for fuel. Their tiny hearts beat at an incredible rate, and their bodies operate at full capacity. These birds are like the sports cars of the natural world. The paradox is that the first multicellular organisms went extinct almost immediately. 2 billion years ago, the Earth's atmosphere temporarily had more oxygen. This is when the first multicellular beings appeared. It seemed like life had taken a huge step forward. However, after a while, the oxygen levels dropped again, and these pioneers disappeared without leaving any descendants. Scientists refer to them as the Franzvillian biota because their remains were found in Africa. It turns out that nature's first trial run failed. Yet without it, we might not exist. Every failure in evolution paved the way for new attempts. The story of Jack Daniels holds a secret. Its origins are tied to an African-American master. Nathan Nearest Green was born into slavery, and after gaining his freedom, he became a true distillation expert. He taught young Jack Daniel the art of distillation. Today, his name is officially recognized as the first master distiller at the distillery where the legendary brand later emerged. For a long time, this was kept quiet, and only recently has the story come to light. It turns out that the recipe for the famous whiskey owes its existence to a man who has been nearly forgotten. This serves as a reminder that many brands have invisible heroes behind them. We all dream of hitting the big jackpot, but the odds are so slim that even the trip to buy a ticket is more dangerous. Statistics show that the likelihood of dying on the way to the kiosk is higher than winning the grand prize. It's funny, but it's true. This doesn't mean buying a ticket is pointless. After all, excitement and hope are part of the game. But it's important to remember, true luck isn't about winning millions. It's about getting home safe. So when someone says, "I'm pretty sure I'm going to win," you can reply, "The main thing is not to get into an accident on the way." Sometimes, just living life is the biggest win. An ant can lift a load 50 times its own weight. If a human had such abilities, they could easily throw a truck over their shoulder and stroll down the street. The secret lies in the ant's powerful muscles working with a lightweight exoskeleton, and its body weight is distributed quite differently than ours. In a colony, this turns into a complete transportation system. Dozens of ants carry food and building materials, like little laborers on a construction site. Their strength is one of the best examples of how size does not determine capability. It may seem like ordinary things, but if you take a closer look, they hold the most unexpected stories. If you enjoyed this journey through the world of curiosities, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's even more to come that textbooks have kept silent about.